I'm creating an indie horror game where you play as an internet snoop who finds information about people in exchange for money for other internet weirdos. The vibe I'm kind of going for is more of a Web 1.0 when the internet was mostly just forums and shitty blog posts with Comic Sans fonts. So basically, you play as an asshole. Your reign of terror ends one night when someone begins stalking you in real life, kind of like a hunter becomes the huntee situation. I always thought the concept of flipping between a 3D environment and a 2D desktop environment in a game was really cool, kind of like Welcome to the Game or Scrutinized by Reflect Studios, and I decided to try to make something similar, but with an indie home invasion horror feel, kind of like more Puppet Combo-y. So here's what I'm imagining for the main gameplay loop. You would receive emails or forum notifications from internet randos asking you to dig up information on people such as their names or address. Upon successfully sending back the requested information, you would get some money, all while progressively creepier things happen to you as you progress in the game, such as getting threatening emails or phone calls, all the way up to home invasion. As for the in-game currency, I eventually want to set up an internet store where you can use to get some home defense items like motion detection floodlights or surveillance cameras. I'm a beginner at game development, so I'm treating this entire process as a learning experience and trying to set aside unrealistic expectations or perfectionism so I can just focus on finishing a project and learning as much as I can along the way. First, I wanted to get a base environment set up for the game, so I designed this god-awful floor plan that I tried to replicate in Blender. Now, I'm a beginner in Blender, but I have enjoyed the little amount of 3D modeling I've done so far, so I took this as an opportunity to try to improve. I started with a really rough outline of the floor plan and created what I thought were modular wall sections that ended up having these really ugly seams in some of the corners. I discovered the problem were the pieces not lining up properly. I definitely should have scaled the sections by whole values instead of just kind of eyeballing it. It's a pretty fucking rookie mistake. I also discovered the hard way that the walls needed to be one cohesive object, because lighting affects different objects differently in Godot, even if they're right beside each other. Saying this now, it kind of seems obvious, but to me at the time, it was just, like I said, a learning process. The art style I decided on was originally supposed to be PS1, but I kind of combined it with a more modern, low-poly look. But this is by no means the final product, and I plan to improve it as time goes on. I created the main objects of the house, such as the walls, roof, yard, and fence. Then I created the big furniture just to kind of fill up the space. Later I want to go back and add more details and smaller objects, but I see that as more of an opportunity further along in the development process to add tasks for the player. For example, maybe you have to retrieve a flashlight from the kitchen or start a generator outside when the power goes out. So I don't exactly know what I need to add yet, but I can save the details for later. Next, I lit the scene with ceiling fans and overhead lighting and wired them up with light switches that can be found around the house. When the switch gets flipped off, I added an emissive material to it so the player can find it in the dark. I made all the cabinets and drawers so they open using tweens, so later I can store collectible items for the player. So I wanted to add the bridge between the 3D environment and then the 2D desktop environment, so I made this quick little animation using tweens, which is just supposed to represent the player sitting down at their computer desk and then I guess pressing their face directly up to the monitor. So I think going forward, I want to go back to the desktop environment and then just figure out what the user is actually going to be doing for the gameplay and how they're going to be completing tasks. So far, I've just got a notepad application where you can write down notes on the information you're collecting on people, and then just like an email interface so you can get new requests for more information. You can possibly collect payments in the future, as well as I want to branch out and like I was talking about, create the online store that you can use. And then I want to bring that back to the 3D environment and figure out, well, what items could you buy from the store for the home defense? How is it going to actually affect gameplay? Is it going to determine whether you win the game? Like if you don't complete any tasks and you don't buy anything, do you just instantly die? Or is it going to give you just an advantage going forward? Like, are you going to like home alone the intruder and buy yourself some time to escape or call the police or however like the end state's going to happen? So I think those are the next steps that I need to think about, as well as creating the actual enemy for the game. I created like a version 1. You might have seen it like the first couple seconds of the video, but honestly, it is It is horrendous. Oh God, I forget how bad it is until I open up this project. Oh, look at him. He looks like Coconut Head from Ned C. Classified if he made some really poor choices later in life. He's got like high-heeled boots on, the way this texture warped. And don't worry, this isn't a real person. This is AI generated face, according to Google. Looks really bad overall. Could use a lot of work. I gotta watch some tutorials or something. And that's what I've got so far. It's definitely like kind of a piece of shit, but it's my piece of shit. And I think it's pretty good for someone who doesn't really know what they're doing. But I think it'll be all right because over time, I'm going to watch myself slowly improve and document the process along the way. Thanks for watching.